Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining us at CGLCC's 2021 Digital LGBT+ Global Business Summit, New World. My name is Natalie Markison, and I have the pleasure of leading the global procurement team at RBC, a proud sponsor of the summit and of this next session. Supplier diversity and inclusionary business practices are core to our business strategy and central to RBC's commitment to helping communities prosper. That's why our valued partnership with CGLCC is vital to who we are as an organization and informs how we interact with suppliers. Building an inclusive supply chain is a moral imperative, which quite simply makes good business sense. Our supplier diversity commitment is to ensure that we are offering equal access to procurement opportunities for businesses owned by women, Aboriginal people, minorities, visible minorities, LGBT+, people with disabilities, veterans and service-disabled veterans, and in the US, qualifying small businesses. We know that supplier diversity is a powerful enabler, enhancing quality, service, and overall value for an organization. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce the next incredible speaker. He is a celebrated host, writer, and producer, and spends his free time as an advocate for the LGBT+ community. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the unstoppable Daniel Pillai.
Good afternoon, everyone, and I am so excited to be here today. I am Daniel Pillai, Vice President of Langton Communications, operating nationally across Canada, and we mainly work with the premium beauty and lifestyle industries. And, like was just mentioned, I do spend my spare time advocating for the LGBTQ community. I'm a proud member of that community. I'm also a media personality and a self-empowerment speaker. And my goal throughout all the work that I do in my spare time and professionally is to help empower brands and individuals to leverage their true authenticity and their personal narratives to amplify their voices and the messages and the work that they do. And I'm here to offer you some quick tips on how you can do that because it's quite a simple process. But what do I mean when I talk about personal narrative? It's more than just about owning who you are and your personal journey. It's about turning that into a story which you can use to connect with your target audiences, whether you're an entrepreneur, a small business owner, a big business owner, because essentially your customers, your clients, your investors, your consumers are an extension of who you are, and they're the people who you're trying to target. Now, Forbes magazine for years has described personal narrative, storytelling in specific, as the future of marketing, and we hear it time and time again. But what is it about storytelling that is so unique and so popular? It's the act of humanizing your brand, creating a personality, turning your brand into a person that people can connect with. Now, while we can make that a complicated process and try to create a product into a personality, I'm here to say, throw that out the window. It's about bringing yourself to the forefront and how you can be that human that connects to your audience. Now, before I even go into some tangible tips, what is my personal narrative and how has it inspired me to be here today? My personal journey has really stemmed from having Black mentality and self-worth issues growing up with the extreme oppression and suppression of my sexuality as a gay man. As I grew up in a very rigid and conservative South Asian culture that didn't know what it meant to be gay, didn't know how it happened, didn't know what kind of lifestyle that was. They had all these different reasons as to why I existed, but nobody had an answer. And so throughout that entire time, I questioned who I was. I had questions like, why does Daniel like the color pink? Why does he act like a girl? Why does he sound like a girl? Why does he like girly things? There were so many questions around why I existed that in my mid-20s, when I decided to break free from that, I said, you know what? I'm no longer going to be the question. I am going to be the answer. And I am going to embrace that part of my life, and I will control what that answer is, because ultimately I'm in control of my own personal journey. So as I navigated that journey of self-acceptance and empowerment, it automatically just trickled down into the relationships I had, the work I did, how I managed my staff, how I inspired them to find themselves in the work that they do, to stay motivated and create success, and how I connected with my clients and customers to help them resonate with what it was that we were doing. It became a management tactic. It became the way I even went and won business. Now, I think many of us will know and can reference many strong examples of how some brands have done it right, whether it's a personal story that inspired them to create a product to fill a void that they had in their childhood, or whether it was to create something for someone who was important to them. We know those stories matter and those brands have done it right because we've resonated with those stories. But how can we do that as small and big business owners and entrepreneurs ourselves? Oftentimes being an entrepreneur, I found that finances, searching for the next opportunity, getting that investment was the prime focus of my journey. I forgot why I was even at the table many times. And I think we can't underestimate our personal journeys that lead us to that point and why we even show up at the table anyways to do what we do. And so before I get into some tips, there are some questions you should always ask yourself. Questions, you should make it a daily habit, a mantra or an affirmation, to look in the mirror and ask what makes you you. By doing that, you'll always remind yourself why you have this business, why you're doing the work you do, and why you're choosing to connect with the people you're trying to reach out to. What inspired you to create your brand and what is the purpose behind it? You'll be surprised to see how often you will forget the answer to those questions going down this road of being a business owner and entrepreneur. So ask yourself that and remind yourself of that. And how are you trying to add value to people's lives? So let those questions be the backbone of why you exist as a business owner. So, how can we get there? It's quite simple. And I think as people, sometimes we can overcomplicate the situation and really theorize how we can bring our personal narrative to the forefront. But it's quite simple. And if you're a drama queen like me, then you're just going to overcomplicate things. But I'm here to remind myself of these steps too. So the first one is to get out there and own the stage, be the face of your brand. Like I said, be the human behind the product that you're trying to sell, behind the message that you're trying to get across. This isn't about creating some sort of complex theory to help people understand why you exist. It's about showing up and showing them why you're there. Now, I know the term getting out is difficult right now because we are in a pandemic, but how can you leverage the platforms available to you, like social media, like video content? Can you do an IG live? Can you do a Facebook live? Can you do a YouTube live? How can you connect with your consumers? How can you get your personality out there? You do have platforms and opportunities available to you. And it'll be surprising to see how often you don't even consider them as options, but ask yourself those questions and see how you can show up to the table every day. And when you're talking about your own personal story and how it's connected to your brand, be vulnerable. Don't try to hide any secrets. Of course, you don't want to give away all the details of your life, but be okay with talking about why you created what you did and why you're there. Be okay with those details. You'll be surprised to see how people resonate and connect with that. Customers out there crave that level of resonance and authenticity. And if you offer that to them, it's a great way to help your business expand and to remind yourself why you're even there to begin with. Connect and engage. Now, I've made this mistake multiple times as an entrepreneur where I'm lacking so many resources and I don't have enough staff and I'm just trying to get the work done that my social platforms just end up becoming a library of just content that I forget to get back to the DMs. I forget to like, I forget to comment, I forget to use all those interactive features. But connecting and engaging with your audience is important. It's an opportunity for you to show up as a personality, for you to show up as a person behind your brand and continue telling them that story. Create opportunities for them to connect with who you are as a person, and then make referrals and opportunities grow from there. So don't forget the power of engagement. Also, how can you show up to platforms and events such as this? You're here today, but what other virtual opportunities are available to you where you can connect with other people, other like-minded individuals and business owners, and connect that way? It's important to always look at the options that you have available because they will help expand your business. Now, be fearless is the next tip. The word fearless is so overused, and I know I asked you to be vulnerable earlier, but a lot of the times the business that I've won hasn't always come from actually winning in the boardroom. I show up a winner anyways. So when I have to pitch for that client, I may not walk away with that business at the end of the day, but I walk in like I've won it and I leave like I've won it anyways. And oftentimes this industry is small. You run into people at different brands and different companies and different agencies all the time. And there were many people who were sitting there that day in that boardroom watching me speak, telling them my personal story, connecting with them, allowing them to speak about their personal story too. And even though I wasn't part of the winning circle that day, they've come back to me and given me business later because they liked the way I showed up to the table. So if you find that confidence to be who you are, you can never lose. You will always win. And I'm here to remind you of that. And be present and remember why. yes, your personal narrative is going to be inspired by a lot of the things that have happened to you and a lot of the experiences you've had in the past. But it's not about taking all that and projecting into the future. It's about standing here in this present moment and reminding yourself while you're here and while you're connecting to people. That's exactly what I'm doing right now. The future, I don't know what it will hold. I don't know how you will take the information I'm giving you. You will adapt it. You will turn it into something that matters to you, and you will carry forward into your journeys as business owners and entrepreneurs. That future will shape itself. But as long as we are present in the way that we're managing our business, it's going to be very important for us in the long run. And that's understanding that the journey of entrepreneurship and ownership is an evolving process. When I talk about personal narrative, I'm not saying you need to sit down with the marketing department and come up with a clear beginning, middle, and an end that you're going to copy and paste onto your website and every single other platform that you own and use it for the next 5 years. Your personal narrative is the evolution of who you are and the evolution of your business. I mean, this pandemic has made us all pivot and evolve. How has that affected you? How can you show up to the table and tell people how you've been affected? How can you connect with people by telling that story? Don't be afraid to be in the present moment and own that evolution, because you're going to change and your business is going to change. And as you do, so will your customer base and your target audience. So don't be afraid to take ownership of that. And I know I've got a few minutes left, but community over competition. I think in this business, there are always so many dividing lines on who is your competitor, who you shouldn't talk to, why you should stay away from that person or that company. I'm here to tell you to embrace everybody, because in community, there is success. Like today, we are here with a bunch of different like-minded people, and we're all here for one goal. And I think it's really important for you to connect with other business owners, because they've all got a personal narrative that they're bringing to the table too. How can you connect with them? How can you collaborate? And I think that's what's most important about community, because you can be empowered by the space you're working in. You don't need to operate in a singular fashion. And last but not least, instincts and intuition. I think as humans, we are trained to not listen to our gut instinct and to deny our intuition. But it often holds the answer to who you are, why you're here, and why you're doing what you're doing. So listen to that. Oftentimes, even in the journey of being an entrepreneur and a business owner, you are going to doubt your intuition and go against your instincts 100 different times. But those questions that I spoke about earlier today always come back to those questions and remind yourself why you exist, and listen to those instincts, because they're going to constantly keep you on a very elevated personal narrative that will inspire and help your brand grow. So, I do hope that these tips, as simple as they are, I'm here to tell you that being who you are is simple. Owning your business should be simple. And so if we remind ourselves of these tips and we really use that personal narrative to show up to the table and take center stage, we can only win and we can only grow in what we're doing. So I hope you find some resonance in some of the tips that I've offered today. I am going to be posting an infographic that really sums up everything that I've spoken about and make it digestible on my LinkedIn. So do connect with me. Please engage with me. Let me know if we can have a conversation. I'm all about connectivity, and I wish you nothing but the best on your journey. Thank you so much for having me.